All right, let's stand and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Anderson,
Here.
Mike Parker, Roger Cole,
Present.
Jim Snyder.
Present. Present. Okay, before we get in there, we do have Garrett Hubbell on the line from RA Murphy.
Oh, okay.
One of the items in my manager's report, and I don't know if you wanted to wait until it comes up on the agenda or move him to the front to give him an opportunity to not have to sit through the whole meeting.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and move it if that's okay with everybody. That way he doesn't have to.
Make sure he's, can you hear us, Garrett?
Yeah, Carl.
Okay, all right. So we'll turn back to my manager's report there. I did include a copy of the letter we got from RA Murphy and my response.
You should be able to click on it and it would take you there.
So I guess I'll let you start on that, Garrett, and say what you need to say.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Appreciate all of your time. Yeah, in a nutshell, I would say that, you know, RA Murphy takes responsibility and we take responsibility for not completely having our paperwork right. We had a mix up. I had Mark Dew was on vacation or on a missions trip, and then I had a new person working on the permit for me, and we didn't catch that we didn't have the right permit in place, and we had actually purchased or paid for a permit, which I never saw where we got denied, but we had thought that we were supposed to get our 1200C through DEQ, which our mistake. Granted, that was how it was set up years ago, and we were just going off of that as well as Mark Dew was. And I wasn't made aware or not tracking it well. But I guess all in all, the disappointing part of the whole thing is we didn't get a phone call that, hey, you guys know you don't have your paperwork in order and you haven't paid your fee. It was somebody, Travis came and blocked our job site and didn't allow our trucks to continue moving material. And we had our BMPs in place, and granted, we didn't have our paperwork right, but it took us about 4 hours to get it right the next day. And I just felt it was unprofessional how Travis treated us. I was actually on the phone that day, and he had rushed off the phone, and pretty disappointed in his presentation and how he presented himself on the job. You know, I would have liked to just got a phone call that, hey, you know that you're not in compliance or you don't have your fee paid or what have you, rather than blocking the road. And honestly, ultimately, it put, you know, about a dozen truck drivers with a smaller check that week. Probably, you know, conservatively $9,000 worth of, you know, less pay for those people. They're the ones that lost out on that day. But it doesn't sit well with us how we were treated and how we didn't just get a phone call. Or honestly, when I talked to him on the phone, I was in North Carolina dealing with a death in the family, and I just wanted to understand what we had done wrong or didn't have in place. And Travis didn't seem to want to talk. He just wanted to get off the phone. And you know, I just asked to at least dump the trucks that we had coming, and he was pretty resistant to that even. So in the future, we'd like to get a phone call or what have you, because I think the assumption was that we just were blatantly not following the rules and not following the procedures, and that was not the case.
Well, I don't know if you had a chance to look at what, what I did. I went through all the records. I was involved in the plan review. That's next realm there. But Nick did send a letter to them Monday before this happened, just point by point outlining all the steps that needed to be done before we would authorize construction to begin. And then a couple weeks later, sent that same letter out again. So I think Nick was very clear about the items that needed to be completed before we would authorize construction to begin. When our inspectors happened to see construction had started, obviously they confirmed what, wanted to make sure whether or not that had been authorized, it wasn't. That's why they stopped the work. Between the inspectors and Nick and the folks from RA Murphy, they were able to get everything sorted out the same day. By the end of the day, everything was back in order. But I don't think that, I think that the inspectors acted appropriately in that case. The construction was underway, was beginning, and it was not finally approved by us. So that is their job to stop that and make sure that everything gets into place. I don't know what more we could have done on our side to communicate the requirements, than what we did. We've got at any given time, there's probably a couple dozen different projects at various stages of plan review and construction, and we're not, calling them up to say, you're not done yet, or you think you're going to start tomorrow, you better come and get us. So I don't, that part I don't, I think it is incumbent upon the contractor to verify that they've met the requirements before they get started. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened out in the field, and people, tempers got hot or what, I don't know that part of it, but as far as the actual actions that happened, what Nick went through when he was doing the plan review and how he completed the requirements, I think was well done. And that's something that Nick has made a lot of improvements in, actually, and making sure that our plan review letters are much more clear. And then the actions that the inspectors took, and then afterwards, what between Nick and the inspectors, trying to get everything sorted out as quickly as we can so it wouldn't be delayed any more than necessary. I think they all did acted appropriately.
Well, I think the appropriate thing would have been a phone call, because I was not aware that we did not have a permit with you. There's several permits and several things that have to be done. I was not privy to that email, and the guy that was working that side of things was out of the office and part-time. So, I mean, if I would have known, we would have had that taken care of within a few hours like we did, the day after this happened. But a phone call would have been nice. And we would prefer that Travis not come on our job anymore. So if Matt was cool-headed and decent and he talked through it, but Travis just rushed off the phone, and we'd prefer him not to be on our jobs anymore.
So at what point would you have expected a phone call? I mean, because that happened in the morning, and by the afternoon, everything was sorted out. I think once they stopped the work, everyone was calling everybody at that point.
Yeah.
Well, rather than come down and block our job with your truck, you could make a phone call to the manager. I guess that's it. And then when you do come, you could at least stay on the phone and talk to me, and so I could understand what's going on rather than rushing off the phone. So yeah, it was next day. It could have been an easy phone call rather than physically blocking our driveway. That it's just it was unnecessary. So
At the end of a process like this, do we issue them a piece of paper or something with a stamp on it or something that says you're now approved to go ahead?
Yeah, it doesn't have a stamp on it, but yeah, it's a construction authorization letter.
Well, they should never be, no one should ever begin work until they have the actual authorization in hand. communicate that by text or by
It's-
email or something?
Nick might want to chime in on exactly how that gets out, but I think he emails it to them, but I'm not positive.
So there was not a pattern go ahead from us when we started work anyway.
Right.
Basically what happened.
So, and usually if you know someone's not gonna be available, you usually have a backup or a person that's not gonna be available, somebody else. When you're working on a project, you usually have more than one person that's in the know.
So I guess, what are you asking for us right now, Garrett?
I'm not asking for anything other than the courtesy of a phone call if we got into this situation again, which I doubt that's going to be the case. And the other thing is I'd prefer that Travis not be on our jobs anymore. Those are the two things. If obviously, we have some ownership in not having our paperwork in right. We were under the misunderstanding that we got that through DEQ, and I did not get that email. That's on us, but Nick, you could give us a phone call or something, because I wasn't privy to that we weren't good to go. Yeah, those are the two things that I'm asking. And
Right.
On our end, we'll make sure this doesn't happen again on the paperwork side, but it could have been handled differently and not created animosity between us and your department.
Yeah, I understood. And that's the ultimate goal here. Just like you guys, I'm sure have a ton of projects going on right now at the same time. We have every project in our service boundary going on. So it's really hard to, give personal attention to every single one. And we knew this one was really close to getting started. It wasn't quite there because of the mix up with DEQ in our jurisdiction on the 1200C side, which is the erosion control permit. One thing to note, even if the erosion control permit was not issued and you had it from DEQ, there's still not an authorization to start construction until you get the construction authorization letter for the stormwater quality facility on the site.
Understood.
So it's not like the 1200C is the only thing hanging out there. And then, to address the phone call, that was, by the time I was aware of all this, I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Brian at your office?
Yeah, he came and worked through this with you.
Yeah, he was at the front desk and he and I worked through it and we got it, up and running. As far as these things go, I don't know if you work in the city of Medford or Jackson County very often, pretty fast in comparison. So,
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That was really efficient and really helpful. We appreciate that. It was the demeanor of your employee that came on the job that was frustrating in the way that it was done. I've got a very young foreman that's on the job, and we've had some losses in our company, and it's just felt pretty disrespectful. So that's it. We'll own the fact that we didn't have our paperwork right. There's a lot of stinking steps to get through, not only, RVSS, but other things that we have to do too. It's not, it's a laundry list and it keeps getting more complicated. So, yeah, I guess those are the couple of things that I'd appreciate, a phone call before you come block our driveway, and we'll make sure that we have our paperwork right.
right.
So.
And I did, I heard that as these things go, there's always a couple sides of the story. Our inspectors adamantly swore they didn't block a driveway. And this is the story from our end, which that's obviously not appropriate. And it was my understanding that they worked with your guys on site to allow the trucks that were already en route to come deliver materials. And then they said, okay, we can't have any more until you get your paperwork done. And then we moved on and got it completed, but
Yeah, the reality is we had our BMPs in place. We weren't discharging yeah, mud or dirt or
right,
toxins into the stream. You know, we had, 95% of what we needed, and we needed to pay your fee and submit a couple pieces of paper. So
Right.
it didn't have to go this way. I know I would have been, oh shoot, I gotta get down there. I apologize. But it wasn't, it was, you will not. And then just the way it was done, that's all. And
Gotcha.
and I'm still of the opinion, unless Travis wants to come talk with us or whatever, I'd prefer he not come on our jobs. So
And I mean, obviously, that's not, we're gonna send our inspectors where we need to send our inspectors. And if it's in the area that Travis is covering, he's gonna be the one covering that, so.
oh, you have other inspectors. He
Yeah.
can come talk to me if he wants, or we can set a meeting, but I'm not okay with him coming on our job until this gets sorted out more.
Like I said, I mean, we're gonna send the inspectors where we need to send the inspectors, and we have territories that they cover, and we're not gonna alter that, because there's a personality conflict between certain contractors and certain inspectors. So hopefully you'll be able to work together effectively.
We can request another inspector, Carl, so if he wants to talk with me, I'm open to that, but until that happens and we get this straightened out, I don't want him on our job.
Hey, this is Roger. I'm one of the board of directors here. I've got a question for you. Are you able to describe Caleb's demeanor that day?
Me, I was not there. I know that Caleb is a very calm individual, so he probably wasn't confrontational. I've never seen him that way.
I don't know. I've got a lot of experience in construction, and usually these things, the two guys going at it, and they're both at an elevated state, and so that's what I would expect that that's what happened.
I would be surprised. You should meet Caleb. I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, Garrett, and I'm sure we'll have more talks with other projects as we go along, and hopefully not have this again.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay,
Is he on?
yes.
Are you comfortable with was Travis in compliance and acting within the protocol to which he is trained in that scenario?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, we get this periodically where people say, I don't like that inspector, I don't want him on my job.
Yeah, that happens
Too
quite
bad it's sad.
frequently. And it could be in the heat of the moment of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And
You always get two sides of the story.
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, the gentleman that works for him is going to stand by his employee. And
Yeah.
generally speaking, if he's talking to someone here, Travis is probably agreeing with the direction he's taking. If he has to find a way to stop the project, I don't believe he blocked trucks from going in. He probably parked in an access that allowed trucks to go in and leave.
Well, and we had both of our inspectors work together on this too. So that, it wasn't just one guy out there doing stuff. They were both there and they both tell the same story. So
You got two young men with their adrenaline flowing and their everything else going, and who knows what could have happened. Thankfully, there was some peace in the minds of both people that are discussing it, not fisticuffs.
Do they have instructions of what they're supposed to be able to do to prevent the violation to continue? In other words, can they take physical action? Are they permitted to do what they do?
Physical action as far as I don't think that's generally how we would approach that. We can issue a stop work order if someone violates it, then that just kind of escalates the level of violation. But like I said, like Nick says, it's just that they didn't block the road and they let the trucks keep coming that were on their way. So it wasn't too heavy-handed.
Did this even come to a stop work order point?
Well, they stopped them on,
But I
I don't
mean,
think we didn't issue a written
issue
order of that, because it was resolved within a couple hours. I mean, by the afternoon, it was resolved. So,
Yeah,
go ahead,
if
Nick.
I can say something, I mean, Carl and I discussed this and we both, there's some assumptions here, but I'm fairly certain that the leadership, I mean, Garrett wasn't in town. He mentioned that. Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just getting bewildered, Nick, because I see myself on the screen.
Oh, understood. I saw your face. You look confused.
I'm very excited.
I'm making an assumption here, and I think, but Carl agrees with it, that judging from Reed Murphy's letter that he sent, they didn't get the correct information from their employees. From what unfolded, the information that he provided in his letter was completely not accurate at all. And which is unfortunate because, those guys were probably under the gun and they were probably scared because they had a job that was stopped, and then they were probably pointing fingers internally and being like it was their fault. And then the easiest one is RVS is heavy-handed and, overarching with the regulation and everything else. And so that I really think that's what was going on more than anything here. But in talking to Travis and Matt, who were actually both there, they were both very adamant that they were cordial. So I can only take their word for it. I don't know exactly what happened, but they understand that you can't block somebody's driveway. And our approach in our department is to facilitate these projects, not to be obstructionists. And that's kind of the approach we've taken. And that's why we've been over backwards to get everything back up and running in 4 hours. We put everything aside, all of our other jobs, all our emails and everything else to get them back up and running. It's just unfortunate that that information was conveyed to their leadership. So that is what it is. But I don't think Travis acted unreasonably at the end of the day, is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
Seems to me on the feedback loop kind of consideration, you've issued your approval and you sent it out. You don't really know that it's been received. So if you don't require acknowledgement that, you can have these kinds of problems. Whereas you send it out and you stipulate you cannot start work with this approval until you've called us to tell us you acknowledge receipt. Then they have no excuse for telling you they don't know, or you don't know that they
In most cases, we also require them to have a pre-construction meeting on site too. So that's another one that, if they had done that, which is the normal procedure, that would have been flagged right away.
Okay. The other thing that worries me a little bit is assuming that maybe the physical altercation wasn't as bad as it was made to be sounded, but the mere act that you have some physical locking down of the site of some sort. Newtonian physics says for each action is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you do something physical, you're going to probably get a physical reaction you don't want. That's why I'm more concerned about what the actual approved things that they can do to stop actions are. So we don't have a reciprocal problem.
Right. So our enforcement authorities, we have the authority to issue stop work orders, which is like it's just an order, and if someone disobeys it, that's just an escalation. And then our other enforcement is we can levy fines. That the only way you can force collection is through circuit court. So the tools we have at our disposal for limited. So, you know, as far as like physically blocking a site or something like that, I mean, that's not something that we would typically do. So I don't know, you know, like Nick said, I don't think that's what they did. You know, I mean, they probably parked in the driveway because that's how you get into a construction site. But you know, I don't think they were, you know, and obviously they weren't blocking the trucks, so the trucks were still coming. You know, after the bus were there. So yeah, that would not be something, like I said, you know, and we can reinforce that with the staff. So, and kind of the direction that I've given them in the past is, you know, when things do get heated, to withdraw.
Yeah.
You know, just you know, because you're not going to change anything or get anywhere just by standing there arguing with somebody like that.
So what it sounds like is you've got both sides sticking up for their people, which is a good thing in some regards. But in other regards, you you don't need to overstate. To say, well, we don't want Travis anymore. That's, to me, that's immature.
Right, we should have told them we don't want Caleb on any of our jobs.
Yeah, I mean, because when you're in construction, you have to deal with all kinds of people. Planners at the front desk, people, you know, dealing with all this stuff, and inspectors and everything. You better be able to deal with it. If you can't deal with it, you shouldn't be doing it. And personalities are always going to clash. And get over it. And I don't know,
We could have our inspectors wear body cams.
yeah, there you go.
An idea. How often does this happen?
It's pretty infrequent.
Yeah, I have never.
You know, and there's usual suspects. There's you know, just a small number of contractors that tend to have conflicts.
Well, yeah, we know we have
Yeah.
some contractors out there that they're never going to be happy with
Yeah.
anybody, even if they were, you know, Pollyanna. It's just the way it is. But to just,
Honestly, I can't remember the last time that we actually stopped work on a job. I mean, that is so unusual. That is very, very unusual.
yeah,
Because most, you know, people understand, like, I got to get all my stuff in a row before I can start. And, you know, I think one of the bigger issues that we run into sometimes, and again, this maybe happened 3 or 4 or 5 times at the most, is someone will get a grading permit from the county and not realize that they're supposed to also get an erosion control permit from us. They're just pushing dirt around and say, hey, you got other stuff to do still.
it just sounded like somebody screwed up and got caught. And then it's so much easier to make a big deal out of it than to own up.
Yeah.
And they were kind of owning up, but they were still putting it all back. That our guy was, you know, I just.
And honestly, I mean, this is normally not something I would bring to you, you know, because it is more of a personnel thing, but they did address their letter to you, so I figured I'd put you in on it.
That's a good.
Well, it is your duty to take care of stuff like this, but yeah.
And like I said, I asked for confidence that, you know, everybody, Nick and inspectors and everyone else involved did what they were supposed to do.
Buried in his letter is a monetary requirement. Do you understand that to not be in effect anymore? He was looking for $9,000. He was looking for $9,000.
Yeah, he backed off of that.
Yeah, because he
I think we concur with your recommendation to
Okay.
deny their request.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, get back to our regularly scheduled.
Okay, consent agenda.
So we've got a whole bunch of
Does anybody have any questions to anything that's within that consent agenda before we make a motion to approve it?
No.
Or do you want anything taken out of it or anything like that? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of minutes of regular meeting of March 15, 2023, and 4 items of business: Avenue C Business Center, document 7000306, parcel 2, document 1976-17451, parcel 2, and document 69.11529.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please, Joan.
Jay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Jim Snyder,
Yes.
Michael Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2306, transfer of appropriations in the FY23 budget.
That me?
That you.
Oh, good, you can hear me. Okay, so resolution 2306 is just to move $9,093 out of the contingency in the Gold Hill Fund 60 as we went over in our materials and services area by that amount. And more specifically, it is in the sludge disposal expense. We way under budgeted for that item.
We've been hiring a contractor to do some of the sludge hauling for us because we're a little short staffed out there. So those costs have gotten higher than they were before.
Okay,
There's still plenty of money in.
more so than we anticipated.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so we may have another one of these at the end of the fourth quarter year end as well. This just covers our expense through the third quarter.
it's good though, because it gives us an idea of what it's gonna cost in the future. And
Yeah.
we can budget accordingly. Okay,
I want to
Oh,
move for approval of resolution 2306, transfer appropriations in the fiscal year 23 budget.
Second.
okay, Jim seconded. Thank you both. Roll call, please.
Jay Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Jim Snyder,
Yes.
Michael Parsons.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, guys. Motion's passed. Finance updates.
Okay, so we have the third quarter financials for you. Nothing major to point out. I did want to make note, though, as you see in the front memo, in the general fund where we purchased 3 pieces of equipment that we did not budget for. And we should be fine of not going over budget at year end in the capital outlay area. But we did buy GPS equipment for the engineering department, a brand new company-wide phone system, as well as a new big hallway copier that I believe is to be delivered tomorrow.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So other than that, and if you make note of my cash in the MCLA bank this quarter, it's looking better than last quarter.
Yeah, we've got in our capital budget, the vehicles that we were hoping to buy, we haven't been able to buy. So there is quite a bit of money. It's been budgeted that isn't going to be spent. That's why. But the phone system kind of broke, so we didn't have much of a choice on that. But
Yeah.
the new copy, we were going to wait till next year, but we figured it'd be better if we could do that now.
Oh, what the heck? Yeah.
Because it's getting close.
It is getting close.
Did you buy that or lease it?
We buy them. Yeah, years ago, we looked into leasing them and it just didn't seem to make, a whole lot of sense. And so we just go ahead and buy them.
I'm just not getting them off the production line. That's why the delay in buying.
That's right now.
They're not coming off the production line. That's why you can't buy them.
With the vehicles, yes. That's,
Interesting.
but you can order stuff, but sometimes it takes a long time to arrive.
Yeah, it took 5 months for the car to get here and change from 2022 model to 2023.
Yeah.
That's how it came in. Understand that problem.
Okay. Any other questions for Brenda?
No. Long-term debt's gone.
Yes.
Yay.
Now.
For now.
Higher interest rates. You know.
Yeah.
Okey dokey. Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you.
Project updates.
That's Nick.
Nick,
I'm going, sorry, had to get unmuted. So Antelope Road, we're still pushing forward pretty successfully at this point. We have 90% plans submitted to DEQ, and we just completed our sewer flow study as requested by the DEQ reviewing engineer. We submitted that, or I think Carl sent that off this morning. So we'll wait to see what they have to say about that. And Carl's words, we are perilously close to getting funding for that project, which we're pretty excited about. That's a big one.
Having debt.
Nico, what's that, Carl?
We'll start having debt again.
Okay. Shady Cove Pump Station 6. Once we got out there and started constructing that, it went pretty dang fast. I think they got it done in about 2 days. And so it's up and running, and the property owner that where the pump is actually located is happy with the outcome. So that one's in the books. ODOT Highway 99 Rose Street to Glenwood. We're still kind of waiting on that one for an easement to go do our required relocations. Vilas Siphon abandonment. We are going to have a pre-construction meeting probably in the next couple of weeks. The contractor's planning on starting in early May, and that's a scheduled completion by the middle of June. So we have a pre-construction meeting for the 2023 CIPP projects today after this meeting, and that project is scheduled to be completed in July. So in situ form will come down and probably in the next few weeks and start cleaning pipes and relining. The lagoon process and wetland improvements still under construction. We've got all the electrical conduit in and backfilled. We are waiting for PP&L to come in and complete the new electrical service. They've got to set a couple of new poles. And because the original line coming in to the site was too low. It was really old too, so probably a good thing.
You'll
Coming
see.
stormwater facility.
Hold on, Nick. I want to elaborate. We've got a signboard up at the lagoons now that.
Oh, yeah.
Installed. And
it's
so
pretty.
we're gonna put a map up on there just that'll kind of lay out the rules for people going there and where they're allowed to be and where they're not allowed to be.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully,
Okay.
They did an impressive job on that. We saw it Saturday.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
I think it's this, but some other stuff, we went and did that. It was really neat. It's gonna be fun. It's a fun,
And put a map up so it'll destroy itself.
Yeah, no, we've got the paper map up. We're gonna have it printed on. I think it's gonna be printed on metal or plastic. So more durable.
Yeah, Shane's guys did a great job. I think he might have some additional words on that on his report, but they did a really good job. I was pleasantly surprised. The Cummins Stormwater Facility, that project, the partition is complete. It's recorded, and we're moving through the process with the title company to do the actual property conveyance. There's a few things that need to be cleaned up on the title. And for what it's worth, a couple of those easement abandonments, or sorry, extinguishments were associated with that project. So just as a side note. 7th Street Stormwater Facility, that one's still locked up in the wetland purgatory with the state and the feds. Glenwood Stormwater Facility. I say it a lot, but I'm really excited about this project. As far as bang for your buck goes, this one is right up there at the top. I mean, it's the contributing basin is largely developed, and it's 170 acres. And the pond is going to be 1 acre, and it meets all of our requirements. It's huge. It's great. And then everything inside of that drainage boundary, all new construction, their stormwater quality requirements through us will be complete, which is awesome. So, and much of that was in the burned area as well. Unfortunately, a lot of it's been redeveloped already, but there is some that will benefit from it.
And this is a really neat one because it's on Jackson County land. So Jackson County is donating the land, giving us an easement for that. ODOT's actually building it. They're paying for 100% of the construction. And then once it's done, then it's on us to take care of it forever. But it is a really nice model for cooperation between the two agencies on how to get something done that's going to be really beneficial for the area.
That's nice.
Yeah, and we should have a finalized IGA to present to you guys probably next month. ODOT's trying to move on that pretty quick. Shady Cove, SCADA and UV upgrades. The consultant's still working away on that. I think Kevin has been in contact with them somewhat. It's been pretty quiet on our end. And just another side note, I actually don't have it on here, but we are moving forward with our regularly scheduled erosion and sediment control certified inspector class in May. So that'll be held. There's 2 classes. There's a recertification and a first time certification. So we'll have those on the 4th and the 5th.
Yeah, send Caleb the notification on that.
Good one, Raj. So that's it for me.
Okay.
Roger, we like having you around.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Shane.
Thanks, Nick. O&M updates. Shane.
Hi, good afternoon. Collection system, rotation of footages, business as usual. Special cleaning, we were fortunate enough to be able to do some extra root sawing, so we did an additional 4,837 feet of root sawing for some special cleaning last month, which is kind of out of the norm. We just kind of save that stuff for the summer, but we'll jump on it when it presents itself. Speaking of roots, root foaming, Duke's Root Control completed some foam root abatement on 18 pipe sections in our system, which totals 4,241 feet. So it's kind of like a heavy shaving cream that they put in the pipeline, and it treats and kills roots. It comes in contact with inside the pipe, just out. So it's handy. And then they come back after a couple of years and do another treatment just to finalize it. So it's been successful thus far. This is probably the 3rd time.
We've used this stuff before.
Yes.
What was that?
We have used Duke Root Control before.
Yeah. Yeah, we used them about 2 other times previous to this.
Oh, okay, cool.
In different sections of, Tim's got a root list. He's put a big target on it, so he comes up with the sections that he would like to have done in stages. So, and does the stages based on severity. So this was another section, another 18 sections that haven't ever been done before. Then special cleaning, you can see the $7,747.28 spent on special cleaning. That's elevated that month because of the extra root sawing that we did. Treatment, White City Lagoons. I put some nice pictures of our kiosk that Tim Hammond built. Maintenance is here on our side. And they're also woodworkers on the other side. And they do fantastic work, as you can see. Carl, we will have our trailhead place to hang his signs and stuff. And I can't.
You want to tell me
Stuff that they built.
Shane,
Sorry?
break it up on us.
Oh. You guys have the pictures of the kiosk for the lagoons there, the trailhead kiosk?
Yes, they look really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but it was built by Tim Hammond and Mike Ashley. They're maintenance workers over here. Tim's our crew lead and Mike works on our TV crew. And they're also on the other side at home at night. They do woodworking on the side and they do fantastic work, as you can see. And Carl and I got together and tried to figure out what we wanted to do for something out there. And my suggestion was to go with a Forest Service style kiosk. It's always nice when Forest Service did really cool things back in the day. They really did do some nice stuff. And I just wanted to emulate that and give that feel for some people that were beginning their journey on the Lagoon Trail. So I came up with a couple of photos and then those guys took it and ran with it. And I think they knocked it out of the park. They did a fine job on that. So I couldn't be more happy. Then the septage, total revenue for the month for septage, porta potty, and fog waste was $65,037. Shady Cove treatment plant, there is an additional set of photos there. Those are the new and improved processed solid containment area upgrade. Back in 2000, recited building because it was all rotted out because the way the processed solids would come out of there, you get a bunch of water and stuff that would soak in the boards, and then you would hit the building when you're scooping those up with the skid. So we just had some janky eco blocks and stuff up there prior. So we had our concrete contractor, our construction crew come out and then our Shady Cove treatment staff hung a nice metal plate up there. So as you can see, it looks really nice. It came out really, really well. And then Gold Hill Sweetwater Sanitation hauled 27,000 gallons of sludge per our contract to the city of Medford. Pump stations and our step system, one of our newly installed E1 grinder system pumps was not pumping, which caused the system to go into high water alarm. So we went ahead and replaced the pump and sent back the old pump in hopes to get a warranty back on it. It's 5 months out of warranty, but we're hopeful that they're going to take care of it, since their mantra is that we're never supposed to touch these things for 10 years. So hopefully they'll take care of us on that pump repair. Building and grounds, surplus furniture that we have around here from all of our recent furniture upgrades. I'm going to submit that to auction soon. It's very possible, though, another agency may want to purchase that furniture or be interested in it. Carl and I, we're able to give away some of that locally. So if that's the case statewide, we're willing to donate that to another agency, another state agency, or another municipality if that's the case. So I'll keep it on that next month, but I haven't submitted it yet. Vehicles and equipment. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hold on, Shane.
You have these things that everybody else knows.
About how we-
Furniture.
Yeah.
So with stuff like that, typically what I would do is I would let like the council of governments know, and we've got these desks and we're gonna get rid of them if anybody wants them. So one of the schools took about 8 of them. So that's the extent of the advertising that we do. What we're gonna do is just put them on the state auction site, and whatever happens will happen. And what our surplus property rules and our codes say that, if we're transferring it to another public agency, there's pretty much no restrictions on how we do that. So, if it's a place like a school district or something like that, and it's kind of low value. So we would just donate that. If it's, when we go to an auction, we'll see what we get out of it. But like I said, if you guys have contacts in the community, there's other
government agencies or something like that that has interest in some, pretty nice desks. We can get in touch with them, and then we're happy to share, because it's just taking up space here now.
So what happens if the auction is zero? We still retain the stuff, or they keep it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, if there's no bids on it, then yeah, I guess we still have it. We got a
Stack
firewood or
it
something.
someplace.
Okay, Shane is one more thing for him.
Vehicles and equipment, our 2000 Volvo dump truck was sold at auction. It sold for $92,000 before state fees. So we're just awaiting a check back from the state with their cut. Pretty exciting. You're not doing anything. It's kind of fun to watch that in the last few minutes. It goes an additional 25 minutes on that truck. So it probably went up $20,000, $30,000 in 25 minutes. I'm bidding back and forth. So it's kind of exciting to watch. Carl and I got online and followed it a little bit. And then our 2006 Volvo dump truck has been submitted to auction. It's up on the auction site right now, and it'll be over in about 6 days.
I want to intercept a moment, Shane. Francie just texted me, and we got the check from the state for the Unit 28 for $80,040.
Cool.
All right, that was better than I expected. Perfect.
Yeah, so the way that auction works, it has a closing time, but if anybody makes a bid within 3 minutes of the closing time, it adds 3 more minutes to it. And so, we were watching it online, and, I didn't know that was a rule, and I looked at it, and it was like $58,000. I'm like, oh man, it's not gonna be a good thing. And then once I realized that the rule changed, it just kept going and going for another 30 minutes. One time they let it go down to 2 seconds before the next guy did. But yeah, it went up quite a bit in the last, after the official closing time. So it is kind of interesting to watch.
Cool.
Yeah, our current vehicle that's up there has only been on the site for a day, and it's already at $31,000. So we're off to a good start, better than the last one already.
Okay. Thank you, Shane.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Let's talk about Gold Hill.
Really?
Favorite topic. So last night I went to their council meeting, and they approved a resolution asking for us to annex. So what happens next is they need to approve the annexation agreement and franchise agreement. Basically, what the annexation agreement is going to say is that they're going to have to sign over title to the land where the treatment plant is, give us full control of all infrastructure and the sludge truck, and any money that they have in their sewer accounts. That all has to get transferred to us. We would agree to basically take full responsibility for the whole system. That would likely include compliance with the MAO, which means building the pump station and making the regional connection. We're going to set their initial rate at, I think, $78, right around there, and continue to operate the plant and continue all the same work that we're doing right now, while in the same time designing and building the pump station connection. Once that debt service comes through for the pump station, once that's complete, then they'll be fully integrated. Their rates would be the same as ours, plus debt service. So they are really realistically looking at over $100 a month sewer rates because of that. It's a magnificently expensive project. We're $10 to $15 million for this, for a town of 1,200. So it's tough, but they're alternative. They went out to bid, they got proposals to replace us. And the most qualified proposal they got was going to charge about 3 times what we're charging to do the same work. So that was a huge eye opener for the council, and they finally sunk in that what we've been telling them for the past 6 years has been true. So that's where we are right now. It's still, it's still ultimately the board's decision. You can say, no, we're not going to do it anytime, but the annexation process is next month. We would have a resolution that accepts what Gold Hill's asking for and asks for a vote. And we send that to the county elections office. They schedule the election. That would be August 22nd is the next available date. And then if that happens, then we certify the vote, and the county board of commissioners issues a board order finalizing the annexation. That would probably happen sometime in October. And then we would take over billing. We would take over the whole full operation, and the city would be involved in it.
Okay. As far as staffing, and especially the billing part, are we gonna be able to handle that with who we already have?
Yeah, the billing, I talked with Carol a little bit this morning about that, and we'll work with Brenda about making sure we have all the records and all the billing. Right. It's 500 or 600 accounts. It's
Yeah,
really,
I knew it wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
but I knew it was still something.
the staffing part that I'm most really concerned about is our treatment operators, because they've been doing this for 6 years, and that's a tough plant, and it is hard on them. They work weekends on a regular basis, and we're trying to make sure that they take their vacations and things like that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest concern, is that it really is asking a lot of them to say, you've done great for the past 6 years, but it's going to take another 2 or 3 before we're done. And that's where we are right now. If we say yes, then it all happens.
Did the council approve it unanimously?
Yes, and unanimously of those present. There is one counselor who is very much opposed to us. She didn't show up to the meeting.
So how many do they have on council?
It's 6 plus a mayor.
Okay, so it's 7 total votes.
Yeah, and so 5. Yeah, so
Five
the
unanimous,
5
yes.
counselors voted unanimously for it, and the mayor was in favor of it. So that's a good sign, and at least what the people there are saying is that they think that the community as a whole is very much in favor of this approach. So, and we'll do some town hall meetings and things like that to just make sure everyone understands. Because one of the big concerns I've had is that they say, oh, we annex and now we're part of Bird Valley Sewer and we only pay $25 a month for our sewer bill. And that's not true. Because you've got your debt service that's going to be on top of it, and you're going to have to pay. And that's the part that I made a real big point to reiterate that again last night. I think everyone does.
So council's aware of that, but the constituents aren't.
Yeah, and that's you've got to be part of what we do with when the ballot title and the explanatory statement go out. We need to make sure that that's very clear what will happen there, and when we do the town hall meetings, we'll make that very clear.
And is there any grant money or special funding, or anything
So
to help with that?
So they went through their one-stop financing meeting with the old plan of rebuilding. They ended up, the best offer they got was kind of a combination of 3 different funding sources. And for what they were looking at, a little over $12 million project, they had about $4.5 million of that was going to be grant money. So that's probably what we're looking at. If this is going to be a more expensive project than what they were had anticipated. That is the thing, is the pipeline connection was always the most expensive capital
Yeah.
expense. It's just,
It's gonna go uphill both
yeah.
ways.
yeah, and it's just the operational cost is so much less that it washes out that advantage real quick. So if they get the, I'm hesitant to say what the numbers are gonna be because, everything's still kind of fluid, but it is gonna be right around $100 a month, maybe a little bit more, between, $25 coming to us and then 75 to 80 as debt service. What they were looking at with the other options was double that. I mean, it was really bad. And so, I think, that once that reality really set in, because when the engineers tell you that, that's just engineers talking. When the bankers tell you that, that's real.
I'm just kind of wondering how many people out there can afford that. It's not-
That's another question. I don't know. I mean,
Not very many. There's
Yeah.
some that can,
yeah.
but there's a lot that can't.
Yeah, so the Infrastructure Finance Authority has a metric, and I don't know exactly how to calculate it, but it's an affordability level of what an affordable rate would be. And I think for Gold Hill, it was right around $60. So you're quite a bit higher than that. And that may factor in with your decisions on grant money. They might get better opportunities for grant money if they do it that way. I don't know.
Well, possibly. And I don't know how all of this works, Carl. But possibly because once we annex it and we're a known quantity, maybe we can figure out a way to help get some funding because it'll look like it's gonna be in a good place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And we have a higher credit rating.
There you go.
And when you got a higher credit rating, you're eligible for better interest rates, which, so maybe that may be a thing. One of the funders is DEQ with the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. And that's what we've got some applications pending with them also. And the reason we're doing it is because they have a principal forgiveness. And their limits are 50% of the project or 500,000, whichever is less. So the most they will give is 500,000. But the rumor that I haven't been able to confirm yet, but with the new infrastructure bill law, DEQ got $20 million a year for the next 5 years. It's a lot of money. But one of the requirements is that they have to hit a certain percentage of that has to be given as grant money. And what my understanding is with their current formula on principal forgiveness, there's no way they can meet that target. So they're going to have to forgive more. So that might be a place to get better people, if that turns out to be the case. So there's I was quite content to walk away.
I think we were all quite content to walk away.
And in the back of my head, I kind of knew that this is like the likely outcome. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of work over the next few months for sure, leading up to the annexation, and then once we start getting into design and construction, it's going to be this is a big project. I mean, this is. Put it in perspective, the city of Gold Hill has a total of about 7 miles of pipe in their system. We're building an 8-mile long force main. So you're more than doubling, the pipe system that they have. It's, it's as big as any project we've ever done. I mean, probably short of the main interceptors, but it's going to be a lot of work.
I can see once we take over the building, we're going to become the bad guys for those who either can't afford or choose not to afford. And how we're going to handle politically, environmentally, in the different realm, talking about the default rate that we're going to have and what we're going to do about it at the human level.
I mean, our recourse for delinquency is we can certify it on the property taxes, but if that turns in, then we're foreclosing half the town because of that. That would be bad. There is a utility assistant program through Access.
Yeah,
And we've signed on to it. And I don't know, Brenda might know if people actually are taking advantage of it, but they are.
They are.
So that is a program for lower income people that gives them assistance on paying a utility bill. So that would be the first course of action. If people get into a position where they just flat out can't afford it, we would start there to help them out.
I'm just looking at the reputation that we have here of being good guys, and suddenly there's that component there, the press pick up on
Yeah.
terrible people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why we have to, we can keep reminding people that the alternative was much, much worse, but that'll get forgotten pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons, why we're going to be raising the rates. The city's going to be raising their rates in July before any of this ever happens. So they're going to take part of the hit. And we're going to be up around $78. If you have to go up, raise it another $30 after that once the project's finished. That's still a lot, but it's
well,
it's less at one time.
and then we have coming down the road, we're gonna have to raise our rates because
Yeah,
look for the treatment plant for Medford.
right.
So it's just,
Yeah.
this is the reality of things.
Yeah. But the beauty of it, if you kind of imagine it as a pie chart, right now, 60% of their rate is going to operating the treatment plant. And once this is all done, 75% of the rate is going to be a fixed debt payment that's not going to change for 30 years. So, if you look at it that way, the stability of their rates is going to be much better than most people. It's going to be really high, but it's not going to, the change is not going to be as much as, at least on a percentage basis, as what other places are going to see.
Well, if the city's going to raise the rates first, we get some indication of default rates right away.
Yeah,
But you will compound when we do it. But you already have a certain number of defaults.
right.
You can extrapolate how that's going to go.
And we have that now. We still, every year we certify on property taxes, about $200,000 in delinquent fees. And that's, that actually went down a little bit once we started allowing credit card payments. But it's pretty steady. It's one of the things is going to happen.
I can't believe with all the infrastructure grants that have been granted by the federal government for waterfront parks, for systems within the city, that Gold Hill never applied for or was never approved for any kind of infrastructure grant for their sewer system. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think you have to have some basic administrative ability to do that to start with. And I think they've been very lacking in that.
You have to have some leadership.
Yeah, I think.
Which you didn't have, agree with that.
Yeah. I think one of the big things that's happening right now that they haven't had before is they have a city manager by the name of Adam Hanks, who is very experienced. He worked for, 20 years for the city of Ashland as assistant, or all kinds of different levels. And he's acting as their interim city manager right now, and he's good. And he knows what he's doing. He knows how to organize things. He knows how to, all of it. And so I think that is one of the things that's making this possible, is that he's got the city functioning like a normal city right now.
Can they afford him?
No. He's not going to stay. He's not long term. I'm hoping that I can talk him into staying at least through this annexation process.
Yeah.
But that's questionable.
Well, and the thing that's still out there with Gold Hill, kind of like with Shady Cove, is there's still water to consider, just normal. Have they solved their water problem? So we may be able to help them solve the dirty water problem, but they'll still have that in the future.
Yeah,
too.
and there's no good solution for that. I mean, that's something they're gonna have to figure that one out. And that's,
Yeah.
but at least they'll be able to focus on it more, when they don't
Yeah.
have sewer to worry about.
I'm wondering if you can, I mean, can you postpone RVSS taking over the billing a little longer so that their rates are, that they've got them up to where they're supposed to be within their community, and then we come in?
We could, I think, a lot of it, at least from my perspective, is the confidence that we're gonna be able to get it. And, you know,
Get what?
The
the
money.
money. I mean, like if
Get
they're billing, you know, how reliable is the transfer gonna be if they're collecting it and then they're forwarding it? You know, their audits are still way out of date. I mean, I don't know that they have the reliability that we would be comfortable with them collecting money and transferring to us.
I think, I mean, I guess I would say the city is responsible for what they don't collect in a way, and, you know,
Yeah.
for a couple of years kind of a thing. If it-
Well,
I
okay,
mean, if they got, you know, if they get the rates up to $100 a month and 10% are done paying, you know, I don't think we want to be the people that have to go pursue that.
it's actually easier for us because, I mean, because we can just certify it on their taxes. So we've been operating for about 6 years now under an IGA. And how many times have they fallen in arrears on what they pay us? It's happened.
Wow.
A few, fairly, you know, so enough times that it's a concern. So I guess that would be my concern there. You know, one of Joe Kellerman's concerns is just the timing of the annexation relative to getting financing for the project, and we're still kind of dancing around that of whether or not we want for them to try to secure it before we annex or after. And again, my feeling on that is that it's just better if we do it. It's better if we do everything. You know, the idea when we first got to this arrangement with them 6 years ago was that this would all be done, that they would comply with their MAO, they would get whatever improvements they needed done, do all the financing, and when that's all done, because we wanted to talk annexation, we would talk annexation. Clearly that hasn't happened. And, you know, whether or not they're, you know, if we put this off, it's just going to fall back, you know, when Adam's gone and they can't find another manager and then they're back to who knows what. I just think if it's going to happen, it's going to be us that does it.
And there's probably just a few residents that even know what the heck is going on with it.
Yeah, they talk a lot though.
Yeah, the chance of
they
the
do.
resolution.
I mean, yeah, they do. They got a gossip thing going on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But reality,
Another thing, Carl, is don't we pay Eagle Point and Jacksonville to bill for us?
We do, yes.
So we would have to pay them administrative fees
Well,
and then not get all the money from them. That
yeah.
that they bill.
Yeah, so it is, I think, you know, taking on the billing, I think is one that we would definitely want.
I think it's a wise
it's-
thing to take
it's-
on the billing.
It really is not a big burden for us. I mean, you're gonna have the grumblings like, you know, your guys who are ripping us off, you're killing us. I can't afford to feed my family because I'm paying for the sewer. I mean, that might happen. But I think that's better than the alternative of, you know, because the problem with Gold, or one of the problems with Gold Hill is their turnover is just so extreme. And, you know, even now, they don't have a whole lot of confidence in their ability to collect, you know, water and sewer bills. They, you know, and you know, their office person, you know, they change over a couple times a year sometimes, and you know, just the reliability of being able to depend on making sure that the money is getting where it's supposed to be. I think it's overall better for us to do that.
I'm almost convinced they should never incorporate it into the city, it should still be in the county.
Yeah.
If it has this problem.
Yeah. So in all likelihood, next month, I'm going to have a resolution that would call for the annexation vote. And I'm also going to have the annexation agreement and franchise agreement for your approval. Like I said, I've been working a lot with Adam on that, and Joe's been involved in that whole, and Joe's very cautious, and he says, stay away from there. Don't go to Gold Hill. And, well, it's kind of what we're supposed to do though. So, overall, I think it's the right thing. The impact, the effects on the river, the effects for the people in Gold Hill, it doesn't really have much of an impact on any of the people in our district. I mean, to a certain extent, you're kind of broadening your base, so your overhead costs are spread a little bit more. But it is such a small town that it's not going to have a huge impact on us either way. But it is a big benefit to them. It is a big benefit for just the water quality of the river. People in Rogue River and Grants Pass will thank us. I don't know, where does Rogue River get their water? Probably not out of
Maybe.
the.
I don't know.
So that's the latest. And yeah, like I said, Buffy was there last night, so she'll be writing an article about it here in the next few days, I'm sure.
He's been doing a lot of that.
So anyway, that's what I know there.
I look on the bright side, once you control Gold Hill, Grants Pass is next.
No, grief.
County.
You move,
Yeah.
No, it's a different, it's a different county.
can't go south.
And this is, yeah, I mean, this is more than anything, this is a bailout of DEQ because
Oh,
they're the ones that kind of cover their pants down on this because they have,
yeah,
they let this go for way too long.
More leverage.
you got that right.
Yeah.
Well, it's another thing where a governmental organization that's supposed to do certain things failed to do it.
Mhm.
And so a small community that has hard times anyway is paying the price for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gold Hill's not innocent.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but
Yeah.
if you already got a screw up and you add a screw up to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, next.
Next is, we've been talking about retirement health insurance. And I drafted up a policy that I think is much simpler than what I've given you before. And right now, just, something that I want to discuss, and if it's agreeable to you, I can bring it back next month for approval. But basically, my overall goal here is I want to get something for our staff that kind of is closer to what a regular person employee would get. And they have a fairly complex formula with PERS that if you retire, and I think there's at the age of 55, they would give a subsidy for your health insurance until you reach 65 based on your longevity. I kind of simplified it a little bit. I put the cutoff at 60, and I made everything just based on the number of years of service. And so if you retire at 60 and you've been working here for 10 years, then we would cover 20% of your insurance premium until you get to 65. And then every 5 years, that percentage would go up, where if you've been here for 30 years, then God bless you, you're gonna insurance. It is fairly generous. And I think I did run some numbers on the assumption, like if everybody took advantage of this as soon as they could. Yeah, if everyone took advantage of it. Yeah, on average, you'd be paying health insurance for 3.6 employees who didn't actually work here over the next, some years. So there is a cost to that if everyone takes advantage of it. That's going to be an individual decision. I mean, there are a few people right now who would be eligible, but I don't think any of them are itching to take advantage of it right away. So, that would be like the high end of the most it could be. It could obviously be a lower amount. Anyway, that's the crux of it. Yeah, like I said, I did try to make it a little bit simpler.
Roger?
So I'm confused by the similarities between like a public employees benefit plan or public employee that retires at 60. If I understand that right, that the employee is eligible to buy insurance at the same rate as everyone else for the next 5 years.
Yes.
But if I read this right, it sounds like we're paying.
We would subsidize. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, because you're on PERS, right, from Medford.
No, I'm not PERS. Well, I am in a PERS system.
Yeah. So if you're in the PERS system and you retire, whatever threshold age there is, you are eligible to buy the same health insurance at the same rate, until you get to 65. And that's the law. I mean, we have that right now. But also with PERS, they have a subsidy that they would provide. And so for them, if they would look at, how many years you actually worked in the system. And based on that, they would determine how much of a subsidy you get. So you would buy your health insurance, but you'd get reimbursed for a portion of it. Based on your longevity when you were in the system.
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, it's a thing.
It's a real thing, Roger.
I can give you, I don't have it at my fingertips, but they update the numbers every year on that. I can't remember what the actual program's called, but I've got a chart that shows how much you'd be eligible. And again, it's based on your age and your years of service.
I mean, so shouldn't we be using that as a comparison number?
Well, that's what I based this on.
But it's 100% for retire at 60?
Do they ever get to 100%? They might not ever
If
get
you
that high.
work here for 30
Like I
years
said,
or more.
I mean, what we have right now is if a person gets to 65 and a half,
3.5.
63 and a half, sorry, then we would pay the last 18 months at 100%. And so, I'm trying to preserve that and expand it to go, I mean, obviously it doesn't make sense that, you would pay 100% at the age of 60, but, have something there. And like I said, I mean, that's the reason I'm bringing this to you right now is if these numbers seem extreme, then we can certainly change them. A person who's worked for 30 years, I think
Is tired.
yeah. I mean, that's a level of dedication. And part of it is, a lot of people, will get to a point where they're close to retirement, but they're afraid to retire. They don't want to retire because of the health insurance question, because they know that it's expensive. And I don't know that you necessarily want that. You don't want, I mean, you want people to work because they're enjoying the work and because they're being productive and all that. If their only reason boils down to, I can't afford to lose my health care, I don't think you want that. I mean, that's not going to be, a good productive employee at that point. They're just counting days until they can get out. So I think if you give them, recognize what they've done for you. I mean, they've worked for you for a long time. That you're happy to have them, but enjoy your retirement and take this and helps them in that position. I think you end up with a little bit better morale and a better, just overall workforce like that. That's my thought. But like I said, I mean, I'm not, tied to those numbers. I just, they fit nice. Then they're round numbers and they look nice. But if I mean, I did kind of lay out, what that range of costs could be. So, that would be a consideration from you guys. If that's too much, you can reduce numbers. Yeah.
You need the answer to go into the budget meeting.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that dollar amount is really not going to affect any budget. It is very small, but no, what I would want is just kind of get feedback from you on the overall concept and where you think the numbers should land, and then I would bring it back either in May or June for approval.
You mean the years of service numbers or?
Yeah, I mean, or
percentage?
I guess the whole concept is, I mean, if you think it's a terrible idea and say, don't talk about this anymore, then that's an answer. But if we want to, work with this, and if this is agreeable to you and you're happy with it and we want to go with it, then that's fine. If you think it should be adjusted somehow, then certainly try to come up with the best arrangement.
I probably want a Wayback Machine and learn how to use a calculator better.
I think it's a great concept.
Yeah, I do too.
It shows that you care about the people that care about us for 25 and 30 years. But I'm not sure. I think I'd be serious about looking into it. I can't say yes or no now, but I think it's a good concept. And I hope the employees appreciate the fact that you're bringing that to them.
Yeah, I like it as a concept too for benefits, because it does show that we are thinking of the employees, not just for now, but for in the future. I think the thing that I worry about is cost overall, because healthcare costs don't go down.
That's
They
true.
go up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that has me, especially when you're thinking 100% of the subsidy.
Right.
But other than that, I think that's the only thing that catches me, is the cost.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I think it's.
I mean, is there like a level where you would feel more comfortable with that?
How many, we've got some people here that's been here for a long time, but not very many.
Yeah, well, I mean, Carol's the most senior we have, and she's got over 30 years. There's
John,
what?
here we go.
John is next, and he depends, I mean, and he's already at a point where he could be, under our current system, he could be taking a subsidy. He's not in the mood to retire right now, which is fine. And that's what I was saying. I mean, that's kind of the max, because there's going to be people who are eligible who choose not to. I think I'm the third longest tenured,
So,
and I'll be 25 years next month or this month.
I think the other thing on this too is losing people because they can afford to, but we can't afford to replace them. And what I mean by that is, are there going to be people with the skills or the want to learn the skills, or how easy is it going to be to replace a senior person that has all the experience, the work ethic and everything? And some of them are going to need or want to leave at 60. And we're giving that opportunity, and that's nice. But then are we gonna suffer because we have to replace them? And are we gonna be able to find a quality of a person with the same work ethic, maybe not the skill level, because they have to learn it, build up on it and stuff like that, but you know what I mean?
I do.
I'm working for the city of Ashland right now.
Oh,
And they're down, I'm working with Daniel, he's cute. But what I'm watching them go through is trying to hire 2 more people in there.
yeah.
And that's, I don't know.
Yeah, and it is kind of a double-edged thing, because a program like this would be a selling point when you're
Yeah.
recruiting. It's like, this is something
It is a good selling
that-
point, but
that
it's,
you're gonna get. We honestly don't seem to have had too much trouble lately with recruiting. We've had a lot of hires in this past year. And most of them have been on the system operator side of it, but I guess Craig was more than a year ago, but we were able to replace Jenny on the stormwater position. Of course, he hasn't started yet, but we had really strong candidates for that. And
that's good.
and so I think, I think reputation might have something to do with that. And, Ashland doesn't have the greatest reputation. for
I know.
that.
I know, not necessarily. And I understand that too. But that's my favorite reference right
Yeah,
now.
no,
Okay,
We could fine tune this thing a little bit and have certain job categories or positions have to have
No.
longer. For example, general manager might have to have 40 years.
I see where you're going.
Now the board is protecting itself.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah. But yeah, I think we need to look at it. I think it's a good thing.
Specifically, why was the age of 63.5 chosen for when we be
way back when, it was a Cobra thing.
Yeah.
And
Sugar
when we
now.
were in the Teamsters Union, they did not allow you to buy insurance except for under the Cobra, which was limited 18 months. So that's where that number came from. That was one of the Teamsters insurance was really nicely priced and good, but it didn't meet the legal requirements for a person retiring.
Are you no longer Teamsters?
We're not,
How
no.
long ago did that change?
2017. We don't have a unit.
Well, I don't think we're gonna solve this right now. We've kind of let this stretch out a little bit, and I've got to be,
I gotta go too.
yeah, I'm good, but I gotta take
Okay.
care of Roger. He has to go back to work.
Maybe throw this back with different options, maybe.
Okay,
Different.
The concept is great.
So, I guess I'll throw, I'm not opposed to it, but I guess 62 seems like a better age than 60 for retirement.
Okay,
It's just, and I think we still need to have that clause about existing employees that were eligible under the current system
okay.
are harmed by whatever change we make.
yeah,
And the percentage, if we look at it like it's a benefit, and that's what we want to go for, I could go for it. I don't think it's, I need to look into it. I don't know that it's comparable to the public system.
This is better. I mean,
It's
I
better.
will acknowledge that this is better, but that's partly because I tried to make it more simple.
More simple and better.
So, okay.
It's just a lot of incentive to leave it 60.
Before Roger leaves, let me just throw something out
Yeah.
there. On the 26th of April, RVSS has its budget meeting. The RV-COG has its budget meeting the same day, at almost the same time. I'm a representative of RV-COG from the city, and I volunteered to be on the budget committee. So right now, as I talked to Carl yesterday, I'm probably not going to be here for that budget committee, so it's important everybody else be here. It's me and Paul.
Next Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
Next Wednesday, yeah.
yeah, I'll be here.
You used to mail out a packet to me.
Yeah.
I think I requested it, but I haven't seen it. in a while.
Well, I sent your mail to your PO box.
Perfect. Thanks.
The other thing, on 16 May is the special district election. The 17th is the next meeting. So the day after that, we'll know who's going to still be on the board.
Okay, are we good, Carl?
Yeah, I
We
think so.
just need to,
I have one real quick thing. I was going to talk a little bit more about some of our cyber security stuff. We are going to be buying cyber insurance.
that's a good thing.
But I did want to give you just kind of an overall briefing of what we do, but that's not an open meeting topic.
Okay,
So I think we're going to schedule an executive session next month, just to give you a briefing of all the different measures that we've been taking.
Awesome.
security.
that's cool. And I need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, we'll call, don't we? Yeah, we do. a roll call.
Kate Harrison.
Yes,
Roger Toll.
Yes.
Chris Snyder.
Yes.
Michael Parsons.
Yes.
okay. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys got to go.
Appreciate that.
I don't have to go.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I don't, I work Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay. Oh, we want to stop the recording?
Well, if you want me to take some of those, I'll take.
I have stuff. I didn't get to sign any checks today.